Welcome, everyone. My name is Sean Shaw, and this is Vanguards of Democracy. For today's show, we have invited two women who are models of self-determinism and embodying the change you want to see in the world. Juawana Colbert, real estate agent with Allure Realty, and yes, star of Selling Tampa Bay, generously agreed to share some of the secrets of her success and what it was like to film Tampa's latest and greatest claim to TV. But first, I'm here with my good friend, Chloe Coney, to hear about what her organization, the one that she founded, the Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, is doing to promote better housing, education, and community ties in Tampa. The interview starts right now, so stay tuned. All right, welcome to another segment of Vanguards of Democracy. It's myself, Sean Shaw, but I'm here with someone that if you live anywhere in the Tampa Bay area, I don't need to introduce her, but I know we have folks that aren't around here, so you're in for a treat today. This is my friend Chloe Coney, otherwise known as the Woman of Many Hats. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and she's the founder of the CDC here in Tampa. Chloe, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
We were talking off air that you're not doing a good job at being semi-retired.
I'm not.
You're doing too much.
Hey, you got to stay busy. You got to keep it moving.
Well, we're going to get into your history of being a leader in the community here. And I love to hear the stories of community leaders and how they got there and what pushed them there. And you have done so many things here in Tampa and so many things that are flourishing right now that you started. We're going to get into that. But I just want to know, talk about growing up here, talk about what led you to your community involvement and why you do this. Being a community activist and a leader is not something that you do unless you've got a heart for it and unless you love it and unless that's what someone leads you to do. So how'd you get there?
Representative Sean Shaw, you're right.
You better call me Sean before we have to end this whole
Okay. I still like to give you some titles. I'm not going to never let you forget that. Okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I do appreciate that. So Sean, growing up in Tampa, and you have to realize I was born in 1950. So I was born in Charlotte County as the first Black baby in the hospital. But I moved here to Tampa when I was 4. And I'm so glad that my mother and my father decided to move to West Tampa. And being in an environment, we had a sense of community in West Tampa. Going to Beulah Baptist Church with Reverend Leon Laurie. And, with him being not only a pastor and really teaching the congregation that we can do more, be more. And then attending Dunbar Elementary School, just junior high school had just been built. And again, only Blacks, segregated. And I decided at the age of 13, I was going to integrate the school system. When the school system came to our school, there was 3 of us. And I had just seen President John Kennedy had come to Tampa. And of course he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? And as a 13-year-old, I said, hey, I'm going to integrate the school system. Why not? And I'm grateful I had teachers like Randolph Kinsey, Sylvia Rodriguez Kimball, Eloise White. They said, we poured into you. We're sending you to the white school. If you make A's and B's adjust with us, you should make A's and B's at the white school. And I'm grateful today that I can say in 1968, when I graduated from Hillsborough High School, I was an honor student. But again, it was not easy. Going to Hillsborough, pep rallies, they had the Confederate flag and sang in Dixie, and there was no more than about 10 African Americans in my graduating class. But again, times have changed.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yes.
You're right. We do have flares.
I still see a lot of Confederate flags around there.
Right. You're right. You are right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we have to keep telling our history. Because especially for our young folks, they don't understand. They didn't understand the struggle. So when they see what happened, on the Capitol, they can't believe it, or some other incident rise up. But we're still here and we have to speak truth to power.
And we're not that far removed from that history. And the history makers, you are still here. I'm looking at the wall. Senator Joyner is here. Yes. People that you don't read about this in books. These are people that actually lived it, that actually did it. We're not that far removed from these times. And that's why I think we need to keep a little perspective in this country and not try to ban the teaching of true history, but teach it and maybe we would all get along better. So you graduated high school here under those circumstances. What next? What got you next?
And then I went on to Florida A&M.
Rattlers, Tallahassee, the highest of 7 hills.
That's
don't
right.
Don't get me in trouble, but
we will strike and strike again. And while at Florida A&M, I was freshman in 1968, and in 1969, I pledged Beta Alpha, Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, and then Who's Who of America. So I enjoyed my years.
Right.
Okay. And then my sophomore year, I married my husband, my childhood sweetheart. So we've been married 52 years.
Oh, wow.
Pastor Ernest Coney. And then after that, Sean, after going through high school and say, I'll never do this again, another major incident happened in my life. Department of Correction came up my senior year and said, we're looking for African Americans. So they did target us. And I was the first Black female hired here in Tampa. Well, really in the whole state of Florida, because I started June of 1972. And I am grateful, and I like to always say this, you have to give credit and honor to our mentors. And the first one on the job, Sean, my supervisor took me to Ruskin. We stopped by to get gas off of Highway 41. He runs out of the store. This guy comes out with a gun, and he's yelling, I'm going to kill your girlfriend, and called me all kind of names. Yeah. And he's yelling, she's not my girlfriend. She's a probation officer. Chloe, show him your badge. And Sean, the first thing I said, I'm quitting. I've done this before.
I can imagine Ruskin back. I can imagine Ruskin now.
Ruskin.
So Ruskin back then. Yeah.
But I'm glad I was able to come back to the courthouse. And I had, at that time, he was with the state attorney's office, George Edgecombe.
Yep.
And I had Delano Stewart.
My fraternity brothers.
That's right.
Both of my fraternity brothers. Yeah.
And they set this little scared Black girl down and said, Chloe, some of us have to pay the price. And they let me know their story. And what they have gone through. And he became judge. He said, when I become judge, I'm going to find you and put you in my courtroom, Chloe. And he actually did that. So we made history. I was his court service supervisor.
Wow. I didn't know that,
Chloe. That's right, was the Black bailiff.
Yeah.
And he was a judge. And I'm going to have to tell his story since we're telling so many stories.
Yeah.
We're in court. And
it's the first Black circuit judge in Hillsborough County.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows.
That's right. And that the courthouse is named today.
After him now, yeah.
Okay. But at that time it wasn't. He was in the old police station, not downtown. And the very first, we're there. And this white gentleman walked in and he looked at Judge Edgecombe and he said, Judge Edgecombe, I'm going to place you on probation. And he started yelling, cursing, whatever. And by that time, Dassasaw stood up and said, no, he is the judge. He's the honorable judge. You better be quiet. I will put you in jail. So he looked at Judge Edgecombe and Judge Edgecombe said, you're still on probation and I want you to go and see Miss Coney, the probation officer. He turned and looked at me and said, I done died and gone to hell. Black folks in charge. So I need to tell that story.
That's a good story.
We were in charge that day, okay?
That's a good story.
So every time I would see Dassasaw, because unfortunately Judge Edgecombe passed 2 years later, but that was our story.
That's I love those stories. And again, we're not far removed.
We're not
far removed. Okay, that I didn't know. I'm glad to hear that, Chloe. What's next? How are we doing? What's going next? How are we getting into the community service and all that stuff?
Okay, and I've had many jobs. I was with probation and parole. Then I went on to Florida Power as an energy auditor. And then God touched my heart. I was in Bible college at Florida Beacon Bible College. And God said, go back home. And I read Nehemiah. And it made a profound impact upon my life. And then when I came to take the job as a center manager, Lee Davis, the previous manager, Melinda Scantley, was killed in the parking lot. So my mother's always said, why you? Why do you have to do this? Integrated school system, now you take this job. And the lady
somebody got to pay the price.
Somebody. I kept telling her, somebody. So I took that job, and once I was there, and you had College Hill and Ponce, we did a survey in the community because we need to listen to what the community said. And Sean, what they said to us was, after we interviewed 2,000 families, they said number one need was affordable housing. We know that exists today. Number 2 was job training and business development. The third was health. And the fourth was youth services for the kids. So CDC of Tampa, Corporation Developed Community of Tampa, was incorporated May of the 5th, 1992. So we're going on our 30th year this year. And we were birthed out of Lee Davis advisory board, and with me being the founder. And Sean, we had a mandate because the average income at that time was around $5,400. We're glad today. I think we're up to about $35,000 in that community. So there has been progress, but not to the point that we can just stop. No, we're not there.
You are. Everyone knows about your connection to the CDC and the founding of it, and what role that organization plays. I always love participate in the Suits event, where the young men come and they get suits and maybe you help them tie the ties. I've participated in the interviews with the young men as well, and it's young men that I usually focus on because men need to see men in their lives doing positive things. That I believe that, and I just believe particularly young Black men need to see Black men giving back and helping and being successful. They just need to see that, and they don't see it enough. And they see too many other examples on TV or elsewhere in the paper that aren't positive. And I believe that's where my efforts are best. But a lot of us, are involved with CDC programs because they're so effective and they're so good. And because we respect you and Ernest so much. But the issues that led to you starting the CDC still exist in certain areas. And I want to talk about one in particular because it's come up a lot, and that's affordable housing. Why can't we get this under control? I've heard different, it's this reason, it's that reason. We can't get developers and they won't do it. What's the problem? How do we fix it? If that's a hard question, I know. But
that is a hard question, Sean. And being in Tallahassee, starting with the Sadowski Act.
That's part. Either you have a commitment to do it or you don't.
That's right. I was there when Senator Hargret was pushing that through, okay? Mm-hmm. And the way they have robbed that housing trust fund, number one. But locally here, too, one of the things, Sean, I wanted to say, having a background, and I remind City Council that I am a seasoned practitioner at community developer, okay? And we built houses with CDC back in 1995. We partnered with Alex Sink when she was the president of Bank of America. The CDC built the first apartments at Osmond Landing. We built 25 houses there in East Tampa with her CDC. And by the way, Ernest Coney Jr. is my son now, and he's doing a tremendous job.
He is an alpha, but he's still doing a good job.
Yes, he's doing an awesome job.
Even I can give credit to an alpha doing a good job.
That's right. We can do pandemic because my husband, my husband is a Kappa,
okay.
That. So all of us. But anyway, CDC has built over 100 houses, Dinah Gardens apartments too. So we have actual hands-on experience building houses, apartments, okay? So what I suggest, Sean, because we're going to have to be creative. We can't just put our head in the sand and just say nothing can be done, okay? I have my mentors. You heard me talk about mentors. Steve Glaudet, he's in Washington, D.C., and he is the president and CEO of a coalition of nonprofits for housing and economic development. The organization has been around over 15 years. They have in their coalition 60 nonprofits and about 40 mission-driven for-profit. The reason they're formed because of the same problems we're going through. They can't have the homeless sleeping on the streets being the capital. Well, we can't afford to have the homeless sleeping on the streets if we don't do anything about our housing need. We're really in emergency. Housing problems because people call me every day. They want apartments or their rent has gone up. Where can I go affordable? And my heart bleeds when I hear an 81-year-old lady call me. And I know senior citizen, her rent went up $500. Where she's going to make up that kind of money?
I know.
And we don't have enough housing. So one of the things that I am proposing, and I did the rally with Robin Lockett and Florida, because I believe we need to do rent stabilization. That
Good.
is
I agree.
one of the options. We got to, okay? Number two, what Steve did, and we brought Steve down here to talk to us because that's what we're trying to form. We have enough organizations out here, housing practitioners, the Children's Board, United Way, city, county government. So again, what Steve has done, they do research and they do their data. And they're looking at best practices. So they have rent control in DC.
Right.
And they're still building houses. Developers are still coming to build,
Right.
okay? So I want to let you know that. That is true. One of the things he talked about I thought was so creative. We got to do preservation of our existing housing. You have tax credits on these apartments. When those 30 or 40 years is up, what they do, they offer the tenants a chance to become a co-op. And they can purchase the apartments, okay, at a reasonable price. So they're doing many things. They do inclusionary housing. So when you find developers building these market rates, they do a set aside, so many houses to make it affordable. Those are creative ways we're going to have to look at for Tampa and Tampa Bay, because St. Peter's going through the same thing.
No, you're right. And what you're saying is there's a lot of little things that we can do, a lot of little different things that we can do. And I think you're absolutely right. You didn't even mention your time with Congresswoman Castor. I mean, I think that speaks to how many things you've done and how long you've been active in the community. But I want to ask you, what are you most proud of? Like, what part of your legacy are you most proud of?
Of course, I'm going to say the work that I did with CDC in Tampa, you know that, from housing to workforce, all of that. But I'm going to say also the reason I'm so passionate about what we want to do with housing now. When I was working with Congresswoman Castor and we went through that great recession, we had foreclosures all over the country. But the Tampa was one of the hardest hit in the state of Florida. So what I enjoyed about working with Congresswoman Castor, she just didn't put her head in the sand and said, what we're going to do. She heard about a foreclosure workshop in California. She said, Chloe, can you call? And she knew my background coming from CDC, working with bankers and whatever. And I said, well, Congresswoman, we're going to do this foreclosure workshop here. And she listened. We called all the bankers. They didn't want to come, you know. But again, we used her bully pulpit. I was able to say to them, come on, banks, she's your congresswoman. She regulates your industry.
Right.
And I'm going to tell her who's nice and naughty.
Right.
If you don't come,
and
I'm going to tell her.
For something at some
I'm
point.
going to tell her.
Yeah.
So you better show up, because she is concerned about her constituents. She doesn't want people losing their houses. And one of the traumatic times I had, it was with a person that worked with Bank of America. The person called me up. He lived in our district, elderly man, and he lost his wife and just couldn't pay his rent. I mean, his mortgage. And he had me to call the Bank of America person that was monitoring him. And she would call him every day. And she said, Chloe, I'm not just calling him only to get him to pay his mortgage. I'm really concerned about him. One of the calls I got, Sean, and I just boo-hoo cried. I couldn't take it. That elderly man went to the bathroom, got in a tub, and shot himself and killed himself.
Gosh.
She told me that. We were in a crisis then, but we had to call it what it is. And I don't want this to happen. I want you to hear me. I don't want this to happen now, where people can't pay their rent and they're afraid and they're going to be out on the street. It doesn't matter if they ownership of a house foreclosure or if they're rental. We're in a state of emergency, and I want people to understand that. So when they see me marching, and I'm going to tell my age, I'm glad to be 71, and I have my fist raised up, and I hear these young folks behind me at that rent stabilization we had, and they're yelling, housing is a human right. Housing is human right. That's what it is. And we need everybody, the mayor, city council, county commission, county administrator. I know Congresswoman Castor be involved, state, Tallahassee. We're going to have to address this now, not later, now.
Sometimes the hypocrisy of this country is stunning to me. And for a country that likes to wrap itself around Jesus, and for a country that likes to claim that we are religious as we are and where our founding came from, the Bible that I read says that we're going to clothe the naked, feed the hungry. And we have a huge problem in this country where how we deal with those that are less fortunate, how we feel about those that are less fortunate. And we like to talk about it. But when it comes to actually putting skin in the game, it's where people start getting real funny. It's where, like you said, rent stabilization, that's a good thing to talk about. But then developers start saying, well, we can't afford to do that. And we're going to stop building if you put those limits on us. Either we feel compassion for our fellow man and woman, or we don't. And it's not, you can't just feel that compassion when it's easy to feel. You got to feel it and do something about it and act on it. And sometimes I don't think we do that second part. But that was also my favorite part about politics, that sometimes you got a call and you were able to actually help that one person. And politics is awful in a lot of ways, and it's not fun. And you take a lot of incoming. But when that one person calls and you get to help them, that's kind of worth all the bad stuff. It's why you do it. It's why you should do it, to help that elderly man. Hopefully, help him in time next time. But Chloe, I knew this was going to be a good segment because I know how good you are, and I know how much you care, and I know you can't retire. So I know we still going to see you. I see you too much. First of all, you're doing a lot. But keep doing what you're doing. Keep involved. People with hearts like yours, the community can't afford for you to stop. I'm going to have Ernest on the show too, if I can, and talk about some of these things. But we're so thankful that God touched you and told you to do this community stuff after what you had already done, so that we can have a CDC in East Tampa. And so that we can touch all those lives that you've touched. And so those of us that want to help can help. So we thank you, Chloe. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sean, for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. No, this is fine. I told you it's going to go
quick.
quick.
You must tell your story. I'm telling everybody that. And please tell them to go to CDC and look at the Chloe Coney Legacy Wall.
That's right. You just got the wall.
Ursula Odom did the wall. Right. It's beautiful. And while they've been banning the books, I'm doing walls, okay?
First of all, we are going to put that on social media. We're going to come there and do some pictures and put on social media. But I want folks to know we're talking to history here. So I appreciate you joining us. We'll see you. Chloe, thank you for coming on.
Thank you again, Sean.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Vanguards of Democracy. This is Sean, and we have a special guest here. You all have been asking for someone from the cast, I know, of Selling Tampa Bay, and we got one here. It's an amazing depiction of not only Tampa Bay, but of Black women in Tampa Bay, Black female business owners in Tampa Bay, and it's a super popular show, and I've got Joanna Colbert here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
The whole set is pumped. We are all happy for you to be here. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, but I just want to tell you that show, it makes me feel so good. I love to see positive images of us, and particularly Black women out there in an entrepreneurial setting. It's a great representation for a lot of reasons.
Thank you for that. And we were very strategic. The producers that we work with for that show, they were very clear that we're professionals. And so we're women, we're professionals, we have a business to run, and we have our own businesses to run. So we were very careful about how we were portrayed.
Right. Let's talk about what other businesses, before we get to what people really want to talk about, I know. What other businesses do you have going on?
I am excited to share with you that I just opened with my business partner a wine and champagne retail and tasting room in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
All right.
And guess the name.
What?
The Sip Room.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about what is it? What kind of business is it?
It's basically people are able to come in and purchase wine and champagne by the bottles.
Right.
Or they can do flight tastings, or they can order by the glass. And we also offer charcuterie boxes.
Oh, nice. I was just telling you off. I just got into red wine here. So
that's my favorite.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. What other businesses?
And in addition to being an agent with Allure Realty and obviously a cast member, I am also the host for Les Dîners en Blanc. It started in Paris about 30 years ago. And I am the first one to host it in Tampa last year.
Yeah.
And I also am hosting it again in 2022. And the cool thing about dinner en bloc, in case anyone doesn't know, you basically wear all white. You don't know the location of the event until you actually get there.
Oh, wow.
So basically you're purchasing a ticket without knowing where you're going.
Right. It's like blind date, but
yes.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I need to get an all white outfit. I ain't got
you're
one.
coming.
Well, now I am. Yeah. How did you get into real estate? Like, clearly you've got an entrepreneurial spirit. Like, how'd you get into real estate though?
I think it was ingrained in me. My grandfather owned a lot of real estate in California. I was born in California, and he owned several units. And I think just going to showings with him, collecting rent with him, it was just always something that I was exposed to. I fast forward to when I was an adult, I went to real estate school once before, but I couldn't finish. I was a single mom. I was trying to handle a lot, working, being there for my son, sports, and all of that. So I did quit, but I always knew I would go back to it. So then when we moved to Florida, I finally decided it was time for me to get my license, and that's what I did.
When did you move to Florida?
In 2017.
Okay. And it was here? You moved
Yes. Yes.
And talk about 17. What was the market like in 17? Because it ain't like what it is now.
Well, I didn't get my license as soon as I moved here.
Okay.
I moved here in 2017. I didn't get my license, I believe, until either 2018 or 2019. I think it was closer to 2019. I don't remember the exact month. But the market was definitely not what it is today. Hindsight is 2020. I wish that I would have purchased more things.
Didn't we all?
Back,
don't we all? Yeah.
Obviously, in 2018-ish. And now people are just benefiting from it. So many people are moving to Florida, particularly Tampa, and just the prices are going up.
It's the water. It's the water. You are super successful in a lot of different ventures and ways. How come? Why? What's contributing to this success? What has something clearly is in you that's making you, that drives you and is contributing to this success? What is it?
I think it's me as a person. I think when you want to be successful, you're driven by yourself. It doesn't matter what is going on around you. Like I said, I was a single mom, so I had a lot of odds against me. I was young. I had my son when I was 18. And I just knew that I still wanted to be successful, and I had goals. So every year I'm working towards something. And I make goals for myself, and I think I'm committed. I do not want to fail really at anything. And so I think that's the driving factor.
I feel you there. I have a similar answer. Fear of failure is
yes.
a hugely motivating factor. Allure Realty. How did you get connected with them specifically?
Sherelle Rosado, which is the owner and broker of Allure Realty, I met her when I first moved to Tampa. So we were already, I wouldn't say friends. We knew of each other. We probably hung out maybe once, but we kept in contact. And when she opened her brokerage, she said, Joanna, you have a place here whenever you're ready to come. And when I was ready, I told her that I was ready to be on board, and that's how it happened. So what happened, Allure Realty is new as well. People may think it's older than what it is, but it's still only 2.5 years old. She started Allure Realty when she got out of the military, and then went and got her broker's license and decided she was going to open a brokerage.
And talk about, if you can, now we're talking about what I know everybody's wants to talk about. Talk about how it got to Selling Tampa Bay and like the transition from I'm at Allure and now I'm on TV.
I think it was a combination of being at the right place at the right time in the right moment, us being women, us being minority women, us in real estate, all of the stars aligned. What happened is that the team at the time took a photo for International Women's Month. And that photo kind of went viral. I think it was seven or eight of us. No, Rena wasn't in that one. So it was 7 of us, I think, in that photo. And it was shared. It was shared a lot of places. And when under the story, it's Allure Realty, minority, veteran owned. So that's something that's interesting to people in Tampa, Florida. And one of the producers saw the photos and reached out to Sherelle and said, we want to talk with you and your team about doing a show similar to Selling Sunset. And
cool.
As soon as Sherelle got off the phone with them, she called us and we all had a conference call. She said, are you ladies interested in moving forward? And we said, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's it like? Like, talk about just a day in the life of the shoot. Like, how does it work?
It is pretty. When they say reality, it's pretty true to what's going on. It's a mutual conversation that we have with the producers and with us. They want to know what we have going on. Do we have clients? Do we have showings? Do we have closings? When is our meetings? Are we planning a dinner to do anything? They kind of ask us what our schedule is. And then we share it with them, and then they kind of tweak it. Okay, we may want to see if you can do it on this day. And so we kind of just go back and forth. And they film us, obviously, everywhere we are. And it's probably about maybe 10 people with cameras and microphones. It's a lot of people.
Right.
And then the weird thing is, let's say we're having a conversation right now, and maybe someone doesn't catch something. They're like, okay, stop, repeat that. I'm like, I don't remember what I said.
Right.
So
you're having an organic conversation.
Exactly. So it's a little tough in that manner, but it's really reality. And it's just different having people around you all of the time. We filmed for about 4 months, and they edited it down to 8 30-minute episodes.
Right. Are you used to it yet?
No, I don't think I think I'm more comfortable with it, but I'm not used to it by any means.
Like, when you go around Tampa, are people like, oh my God, that's the person from Selling Tampa? Isn't that cool?
Yes. What's even funnier is that I had on a mask one day, and I went into the store, and I think I even had on sunglasses. But the lady was like, I know your voice. I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh wow, you're on Selling Tampa. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't realize I had a distinct voice. So people pick up on different things. It
is a big deal. Like it is. First of all, the show is super popular nationally, but clearly here in Tampa, like it's our thing. It's like we're very proud of you all. It's
Thank
awesome.
You.
If I'm a young person and I am watching the beautiful Juawana on this show,
oh, thank you.
How do I get into real estate? Like, how do I want to be you when I grow up?
Well, no one wants to be me because there's only one me. Right. They want to be them, and they want to be successful in real estate. And so the first thing I would say that they would do is investigate what the requirements are in their particular state, and then sign up for Allure Academy.
Nice.
So that's another thing I didn't share with you.
I walked slam into that one. Okay,
you did, because I didn't prep you for that.
You did not. I walked into that one.
We started an academy because we were getting, when I say we, Sherelle and I and Gabriel, our chief marketing officer, we started Allure Academy because we were getting so many DMs and messages about people wanting to be, either they were just newly licensed, or they were thinking of getting licensed, but they really have nowhere to get the information from. Yeah, you can Google, but someone guiding you, someone that looks like you, a woman, a minority woman. And so we started Allure Academy, and we have been very excited about it. People are loving it. And it's basically the things that we learn, real life practical examples, are our thoughts on what people need to know as soon as they become real estate agents, and our take on it.
I mean, you know this better than me, but I'm just going to say it for the audience. Everyone thinks that you can go flip a house, make a bunch of money, and then that's what real estate is.
No.
And it ain't.
No, it's not.
You can get yourself in trouble very fast with just basic of, buying bad property or buying it at the wrong time, place, taxes.
Contracts.
Yes. Like you need lawyers to look at all this stuff. Yeah, it's important to know what you're doing.
Absolutely. And that's what, but I would say yes. In addition to obviously Allure Academy, you look up your information, be prepared that it's not going to be easy. You're going to crawl before you walk, unless you know people and things just kind of fall in place for you. But you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. And a lot goes into that. And just having the commitment and the understanding that it's not going to happen overnight, but it can happen.
Right. So everybody knows your on-screen persona. Tell us what you do for fun. Like, what do you do in your free time?
Eat, basically. But so I'm an extrovert. I like people.
Right.
But I'm an
introvert.
I
hope so. You on TV?
I do. But I'm an introvert. Like, I spend a lot of time at home. Like, it's okay that I'm out, but I have to recharge by myself.
Right.
And in my free time, I'm either spending time with family. I travel. A lot of my family don't live here. And obviously I have that business in North Carolina. So I've been going back and forth to North Carolina. My family lives in Ohio. I like going to happy hours. I like fun stuff. Like, I went to a candle making class.
Oh, wow.
I like bowling. I like movies. I love movies.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have really anything that's earth shattering.
That's what people want to. That's what people want to hear. Where do you see the show going, or how long do you think you're going to do this? And is it Is it a burden? Like, because it's a lot to be followed by cameras. Like, is it something that you could see like, this is getting on me, or we're just riding the wave while the wave is cresting?
We definitely are riding the wave. It's not too cumbersome right now. And I think because of the filming schedule, then we get a break and we still have our regular, business to handle. I just left the office before I came here, and I have a closing after I leave here. So we have to still do our regular business. But hopefully this platform allows us to do other things. And it has.
Yeah, your academy.
Yeah, the academy, just being invited and to other speaking engagements, and really just being an inspiration to women. That's really what we wanted to show people, that you can be a woman, you can be a minority woman, you can be brown, you can be black, you can be Hispanic, Latina, Asian, whatever it is, you can still do it.
We're wrapping up, but I want to ask you more about what you just said about the inspiration and the historical nature of it. A young black girl that sees you on TV being successful and being in real estate and being all that you are, that is hugely inspirational to her and to others as well. What does that mean to you? How do you feel about that?
We're privileged, we're blessed, and we really just want to continue to do things to show young ladies and women that, we're professional women. However, we still like to have a good time. Hopefully you can see that in the show. We like to go to dinner. You're going to have disagreements in life, but it's how you handle them. You're going to have adversity. And so just being able to see other people go through that and maybe help shape and mold how you handle certain situations, I think that's the goal.
No, that's a really good point, handling adversity and conflict.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be as it is on other reality shows. It can
Correct.
be like this in a professional setting. Thank you for being here. We appreciate this. I know you're busy, and I know we're going to get a lot of people that are going to love this show, but I appreciate you making time for us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to do it. Tampa's proud of you all. Thank you. We'll see you.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the news segment of Vanguards of Democracy here with Sean Shaw. I'm going to talk about the news a little bit and all kinds of fun stuff this week. First thing is we're going to talk about Tallahassee and the legislature a little bit. We'll start off with the bad news and end with the good news. So the legislature found $100 million to add to an affordable housing program that simply doesn't exist yet, right? So they took $100 million in the budget and shifted it to a program called the Hometown Hero Housing Program. And if you haven't heard of that, you shouldn't feel too bad, because the program didn't exist until they received this funding. So it's a program that no one knows how it will be administered. No one knows what it's for. There are no rules on it yet because it's a brand new program. But mysteriously, the legislature thought it should be funded to the tune of $100 million. Now, while that sounds like a cool title, you don't send $100 million to something that has no rules on how to spend the money, number one. Number two, here in Florida, we are about the worst state when it comes to the availability of affordable housing. And that $100 million came from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is just what it says. It's the trust fund that has been specifically set up to pay for affordable housing. So, yeah. The legislature took $100 million from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to spend it on the Hometown Hero Housing Fund that has no rules, that doesn't really have any background, and now exists for the first time because it received this funding. It's just hard to justify that type of stuff. We have enough needs in affordable housing generally before we ought to be sweeping the trust fund to pay for other things. Now, I assume that the Hometown Hero Housing program will be affordable housing for veterans or something like that, which is a good program. But again, you don't need to sweep the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to do that to a brand new program that doesn't exist. Establish the program, see that you've got some rules to it, make a pilot program, get some good results, and then maybe you can increase funding. But to create funding out of thin air and to take it from someplace where we really need it is peak Tallahassee. The second thing is redistricting. Here in Florida, we go through this process similar to other states every 10 years. This is a redistricting year. So redistricting essentially means it's the time when politicians get to draw the boundaries for the seats they run in. So that's the state Senate, state House of Representatives, and United States Congress, right? So they have drawn the boundaries for the Florida House of Representatives and the Florida State Senate. That's done and essentially set. What hadn't been set are the boundaries for the United States congressional seats. And it's a big deal here in Florida because the legislature drew the districts for Congress and agreed on it, but the governor vetoed it. And so the legislature is going to have to come back in special session to specifically deal with the governor's veto and to pass a map for congressional boundaries. And why did the governor veto it? Well, the governor thought that one seat in particular didn't look right to him, was unconstitutional to him, and he had a problem with it. And it just so happens that one seat is an African-American congressional seat in North Florida, currently held by incumbent Al Lawson. No court has suggested that that seat isn't good. No court has said it runs afoul of fair districts. No court has said there's an issue, but the court of Ron DeSantis says he has a problem with it. So he vetoed the redistricting maps because essentially he wants something done about that seat. And very likely, if that seat is drawn in the way that the governor wants, we will lose a black member of Congress from Florida. And that's pretty important because there's not a lot. And so welcome to Florida. Next thing we got, some good news, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's my second favorite NFL franchise. I was born in Jacksonville, so I got to admit I'm a Jaguars fan, but I also need a winning team too, so I have adopted the Buccaneers since I live here. But they recently got a new coach, Todd Bowles. And if you remember, Todd Bowles is an African-American man. He was the head coach of the New York Jets at one point. He's a defensive genius type coach. And Bruce Arians, the coach of the Buccaneers until recently, moved up to the front office, and the Buccaneers elevated Todd Bowles to be the head coach, one of a few African-American head coaches. And a fun fact is this that I heard this weekend: Tampa Bay has had more black head coaches than any other franchise in the NFL. So that's a fun fact. It's a good fact, and we wish Todd Bowles success unless y'all play the Jaguars. And then I'm going to have to go to church that Sunday and pray because we're not going to win without holy intervention, I don't believe. And the next thing is, I am participating in a boat parade this weekend coming up. So the Delta Sigma Theta sorority is having their boat parade in honor of their 75th anniversary, I believe, here in Tampa. So the boat parade is going to start at the convention center in Tampa, go up the Hillsborough River, and then come back. And then we're all going to go to a little sail pavilion outside bar there near the convention center. So I'm getting myself ready for that. I got to get my boat ready. I think it'll just me being on the boat. So I've got to, if you know the geography of Tampa, I've got to drive my boat maybe 45 minutes to get it to downtown. And so Saturday morning, I'm going to do all that, and we're going to have a good time. But I'm looking forward to that. And so I'll let you know how that goes. And as long as I don't have any mishaps. If I have any mishaps, I won't let you know how it goes. So you'll know either way. So with that, we will see you next time. I appreciate you tuning in. Vanguards of Democracy is funded and produced by Vanguard Attorneys, a local personal injury law firm serving the Tampa Bay area with ingenuity and an indomitable work ethic. Don't forget to follow Vanguards of Democracy on YouTube or download episodes on your favorite podcast streaming services like iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And lastly, we're excited to announce that we're launching our new landing page, www.vanguardsofdemocracy.com, where you'll be able to ask questions, recommend guests or topics, and stay up to date with news and announcements. It'll be great. If you know how to bookmark a website, this is the one that'll make it worth it. Thank you.